Unleash the power of knowledge and connect with the heartbeat of the African diaspora. Download our African Diaspora News Channel app now on Google Play and Apple App Store. Stay informed with authentic and diverse perspectives, breaking news, and cultural insights. Immerse yourself in a community that celebrates unity, resilience, and progress. Experience the vibrancy of the diaspora at your fingertips. Don't miss out. Empower your perspective today. Search African Diaspora News Channel and join the conversation.
Senegal shocked the whole world with their general elections. Here is a candidate that literally came from jail 2 weeks before the general election, going against a candidate that was handpicked by the previous president. And we always know what that means. It also means that there are Western influences in these decisions. But this is the guy that went on to become president. And now the West is re-examining the decisions they made. And it's dawning on them that Africa is changing. And the guy that they least expected to come into leadership is now in leadership. And they have to work with him. And guess what? They have begun arriving in Dakar, Senegal, to try and foster great working relationships with the new Senegalese administration. Hello there, how are you doing? Welcome to another episode of our conversations. My name is Ondiro Oganga. I am a business journalist by profession and a digital content creator. I love coming on here, having conversations with you guys about Black people, Africans, our empowerment, and how we can rise up and take our rightful place at the global stage. You can connect with me on social media at Ondiro Oganga, or come over to my channel at New Dawn Africa channel, where I profile Africa through people, politics, and places. Now, I've been a little bit MIA because I was taking care of some stuff, health challenges. I feel a little bit better, and I couldn't be happier to be back here and doing these videos with you guys. Without further ado, today I want us to discuss Senegal. While I was away, Senegal held their general elections, and Senegal holds their elections just like many other African countries. There's a presidential tenure, and it's a democratic country. Just a little bit background of Senegal. Senegal is a West African country, and it started as one of the last remaining democratic countries in West Africa. I think together with Ghana, Nigeria had a really shambolic election, so I don't think that counts as a democratic electoral process. It also finds itself in an area which is really tricky because there have been several military coups. Now, the reason for the military coups notwithstanding, they're still considered military coups, and that poses some form of security and political volatility. But here you have Senegal, who over the last 10 years, they've gone to the elections, they've elected the leaders they want, they've respected their constitution. And then leading up to the election, the current president, or rather the president that came out of power, decided that he wanted to postpone the elections by nearly 10 months. And this caused a lot of uncertainty in the country. People went out to the streets, people were protesting, because the irony is how the president came to power is exactly what happened with the previous president. The previous president was trying to extend his tenure in power, and the current president led protests and became president, and he was trying to do the very same thing that people revolted against that brought him into power. Of course, there were two really interesting players. There was Sonko, and there was Bassirou Faye, who's now the current president. And these guys were part of the opposition, and they were thrown in jail. Sonko, we know the allegations that he was thrown in jail for. He was convicted of a libel charge against a judge, and there were also sexual abuse allegations, but they remain allegations because they were not, the court did not conclusively decide that matter. But the history of these guys is also very, very interesting. They used to work as the tax bosses. And while they were doing their work, they realized that there's a gap here. They realized that most of the countries that were mining minerals in Senegal, particularly French, American, British companies, they were being given a lot of tax breaks, a lot of tax incentives. They were finding ways around the system. And it made them question a lot of things, because these resources are supposed to benefit the people of Senegal, yet they saw that the resources that are supposed to be benefiting the people were benefiting the foreigners that had come to exploit them. And that is where their friction with the government began. And that's why the president, the former president, did everything he could to ensure that these two do not come into power, 2 weeks to the elections, of course, they were released from house arrest. And guess what? They ascended to the highest positions of power. And I think this just speaks to the place where Africa, African youth, African mindset is at. People are beginning to wake up and they're beginning to smell the coffee. People are realizing that leadership goes far and beyond today and tomorrow. You need visionary leaders. You need people who have your interest at heart. You need people who are Pan-Africans at their core, because if you look at the history of the two opposition candidates that have now become president and prime minister, they have questioned certain things that the government has done that benefits very few in government at the detriment of the whole country. Senegal is not a poor country, and this is something I will get into in another video. Senegal is a very, very rich country. They recently discovered oil, they have gas. So this is a country that it's supposed to be wealthy, and that wealth should trickle down to every single person in the country. So this vote was the people of Senegal sending a message that time is up. Time is up for politicians to play with them. Time is up for politicians to play master to rather play puppet to their Western masters. Time is up for African resources to be pawned and used just the way people think and people please. Time is up for all these things. And now they have a new leadership. Of course, Bassirou Faye is the president, and he made he made Sonko his prime minister, because Sonko was the leading candidate, and when he was barred from vying in the spirit of brotherhood or politics, endorsed the current president, and that's how he became president. The best we can do, I was having a conversation with a colleague of mine, and as usual, you're very skeptical. You think, oh my God, okay. Yeah, I mean, okay, they've elected a young person. He's tough talking. He looks like he's patriotic, but we know how this ends. And she corrected me and said, we don't have the right to judge him. Let his actions speak for themselves. And I think that as Africans, we've gone through a lot, particularly with poor leadership, that majority of us have lost faith and have lost good faith, hope, optimism. And so even though you put somebody in office, you're not expecting much. And sometimes I think that is shooting yourself on the foot, because you should be able to expect a lot from the people that you put in office. And that is how you hold them accountable. That's how you ensure that every single promise they made to you, they live up to it. And you also push them to do a little bit more. So all we can do is wish the current president and the prime minister all the best, and we hope that they stand their ground, because a lot of things are going on, particularly in West Africa, that are not right, particularly in relation to their relationships with countries like France. And we really need tough leaders, not just tough talking leaders, leaders who can walk the talk, leaders who have a spine and can stand on their 2 feet, stand their ground and say, the relationship that we had with you over the last 50 years, okay, but we cannot continue relating with each other like that. Because if we continue relating with each other like that, then that's another 50 years of poverty. And, you know, all we can do now is sit back and watch what he does. Of course, I'll do another video just explaining the contracts and what's happening in there. But in terms of leadership and in terms of him being an astute leader and the people sending a message by electing him, I think it's loud and clear that the people of Senegal have taken their fate back into their hands. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again in the next video.